Yes, indeedy. It's that time of the week again. It's time for KBS Saturday Night Live. Or as I say, we're Saturday Night Live, got real.
Porn music.
Oh, dude, you love my bad porn music. I'm taking none of your crap tonight, dude. How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm all right.
Like that? That good, Joe?
Yeah.
Cool. That usually bodes for a good show then when you're a mood.
Yeah, special shout out there to Just a Guy. Hey, buddy.
Yep, big shout out to Justa. I got a couple of articles.
Right there with him.
I got a couple of articles off him today, actually. Quite interesting. A couple of asteroids we can look at maybe later on. So big shout out to Justa. We see Nancy coming in there. Colorist. Stimulate. Stimulate likes to have a laugh in the chat. I like that character. Scotty Lopez. How you doing, man? I'm sorry to drag you away from your storm chasing, dude. How's Scotty?
Storm chasing my ass. You know what he's trying to do? Stay conscious in that comfy ass chair now.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Look at it. Do you see that face? Look at that face. That face says, I want to take a nap so I can go to sleep later.
Yes.
He's almost napping on us now.
I know you hear him. Yeah.
No, it's nice and comfortable. But yes, it is great to be back on a Saturday night here on the live stream.
Just a normal day for me, Scotty. You know, the streaming addict that you've got in your hands now. You did predict it was always going to happen.
It was going to happen. Yeah.
Yes, and now it's good. It's good to see that it's become second nature to you, Kev. You're willing to throw down the live stream.
An extension of him, isn't it?
Yeah, at 5'6", Joe, I'll take any extension I can get, brother.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to tell you, Kev, it's pretty good. And this new daytime thing you got going, your little coffee break, I kind of like what you're doing.
It's just so relaxed. It's
tear to my eye, man.
You see, you and Popeye, you started it all those years ago. The London Olympics. That's how I remember my debut on radio. Sweating my titties off coming on with you. I ended up with no top on. I was buckets of sweat. I was shitting myself. And here we are, dude.
Here we are.
All these years later.
later.
And I thought I had seen some interesting woo over the years. And in recent times, you guys appreciate the fact that I've adopted a more logical kind of approach to things. So today, there I am thinking, what do we talk about tonight? Start to go looking around. And I was being bombarded everywhere I went. I was seeing this one story and I'm shaking my head going, dear me, do people actually believe this? So though I'm going to get my debunking head on, Skeptical Kev goes in there. He fires up Google Earth and Skeptical Kev got his scrawny white ass handed to him because there is no hoax. Oh, no. It would appear there's something lying beneath the ice in Antarctica, boys.
Is it, though?
Is it, though? That's the question.
That's the problem. It sure does look like something is lurking there, or built there, or lying there, or whatever it is. It does look like it has definition. It's got longevity, apparently. And, you know, I mean, skeptics can say it's just the way the snow is laying there on the mountains. And it's just a coinky-dink.
And I'm as skeptical as they come these days, but I can't go there.
Too.
I really can't go there. So
can I be honest with you? This shit makes you that way.
Yeah.
It is. It's almost like a PTSD. You become almost, I don't want to call it grumpy, but kind of sort of like you're just like, not again.
Information fatigue, I call it.
Yeah, because you've had enough of the BS and you're just sick of it. So you go, oh yeah, look at this. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. But this ain't bullshit. And the problem here is that you could go down the road of skepticism and you would be totally justified and it's okay. But you could also go down the road of the woo and you'd be totally justified and it's okay. And nobody is any closer to the truth.
And I'm trying to find that middle ground because really, all we've got in our hands right now is a very interesting image that maybe some people haven't seen yet. And I felt compelled. I've almost done a coffee break stream today. Almost went live impromptu with this to try and get the thought.
That thing is badass.
I know, man, I know. So what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to go to Google Earth, okay? And as you can see here, we've got the UK.
Look at you. Look at you. This has become an extension of you. Look at this. So true.
Looking good, right? So we're in here and we can come to my hometown, Smart City, Glasgow. But it's not Glasgow we're going to look at today. We are going to fly down to the bottom of the world.
Wow. It's pretty flat.
And we are going to look at this here.
What? And see, now what gets me, Kev, do you see the shadow on the left?
Over here?
No. Right? The other eye, basically.
This one here, yeah.
Yeah, that right there. That seals it for me. It really does. Because it's like, how do you have two identical structures like that? And then the whole nose thing, and then the mouth. It's just too, gosh damn. There's like even a little nose hole there. You see the nose hole?
And nature tends to not work in symmetry when it comes to like nature and things like that. No, not like that.
And think about this too. Wind, snow, all these forces that are acting upon it. But at that, I mean, look at over time when you look at these images, and you did it earlier before the live stream of taking earlier shots of this. It's been there for a while.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that right now just to show people, you know, I'm not very adept at Google Earth, so there's going to be people out there that are far better than me. But you can come to like a history and you can see, look back in time. Now, this here, see, this is the one I was looking at earlier on. And what you're looking at right now is this image. Take it back again. 2013. You can see it on the screen there, 2013. We come back to 2011. We come back to 2010, 2009. And then we can go all the way back to 99. And there's a more detailed search that you can do.
What is that?
But you can start, I mean, even when I looked at that there, you can see this almost the definition of what is to become the nose, right?
Right.
So if we walk through time again, we come back up to when it starts getting detailed, because that's when Scott says, you know, Scott's right. He's like, once it goes into high def, we really start to see what's going on.
That's when we can really see it.
Yeah, they didn't start getting high definition satellite images until 2009. So anything before that, it's going to be really grainy and hard to tell what it is. But yeah, once you get those high def images coming in, I mean, it's like, wow.
It's just unbelievable what you have there, you know. And I don't know. I just can't look at that.
You can even like take
that has like depth to it. You see the depth to it this time.
There's like the sun, like the course of, like during the day where the sun would land and things like that.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm like I say, I went in here to debunk this, guys. I didn't think I was going to be able to find it. I thought maybe this is a heap of bunk. Somebody's just trying to pull a fast one. Perfect clickbait, right? Because people are obviously going to be interested in this. But I tracked it down, and it first got put online by somebody on Instagram called UFO_Scandinavia. And
I like this person.
It's a channel that's been looking for stuff that they usually, as the title says, that they concentrate on UFOs and things like that. But it's a channel with a track record. It's not just one that's come up out of nowhere. So it is somebody that takes the time to look into these kind of stories. Now, not that that means anything, but I was just trying to see maybe, because this is just, it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking maybe if we go back in time on Google Earth, we'll find that it was nothing at one point and they've stitched this image in. Now, that's not to say that somebody isn't at it. And all we know right now is that if you go to Google Earth and you go to the coordinates, and I'll drop them in the chat room in a moment. I want people to do this yourself. I want you to have that, oh, hell moment I had today. Because when I've seen it emerging, I'm thinking, oh, no, far from debunking this, I've just opened up a hell of a rabbit hole. And just to give people the idea here, I mean, even if we're conservative, right, and we go in line with the brow, we come from there just to the bottom of the lip, you're looking at 494 meters long.
Wow.
And then we come from, go for it.
How big do you think that is relative to the pyramid that they found down there. And that thing I heard was enormous.
Yeah, we're going to have to check that out. We're going to have to quickly check that out. But
Because the reason why I ask is, I mean, okay, so let's just say that's a face. I mean, could it be a monument?
that's what I mean. Again, I'm speculating, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong here. Everyone's ideas are as welcome as anyone else's because we just don't know. And my initial thought, Joe, was this was some kind of massive 500 meter by 400 meter wide monument that's been left there. Obviously, very ancient, covered in the ice. It's only starting to emerge now as the ice recedes and things. And we're talking about Antarctica way back in the timeline when it could have been lush, green, habitable.
Right.
Back in a time when the world was a lot different than we know it now. But that's just my initial thought. And then you sent me a video that had me thinking about other things entirely, as well as giggling as well, Joe. I was having a good giggle at the video you sent me, I admit that. But it got me thinking about the whole giant aspect of things. And I'll get you to speak to that, man.
Yeah, I think that we have to explore that option. Now, this thing would be huge with a 500-meter face. That's a half-mile tall.
And
just ahead.
arguably, guys, it could be
That's why I go down the road
meters.
of a monument. You know,
Yeah.
I go down the road of some sort of monument. But needless to say, certainly more evidence to show that there was civilization much more advanced, and everything that we're taught is bull. The interesting thing about the video I sent you is the fact that it's just kind of they're images of structures that show evidence of maybe being like fossilized giants. And that's what got me thinking, is like seeing that face is holy moly. You know, here you have, if for anything else, just more evidence or possible evidence of different civilizations, different life on this planet. And it just tells you more than anything else that the ancient texts are not baloney. They're not just things to be admired in museums. They're things that we need to know. And it's knowledge that has been occulted for no other reason than to control. And if people knew the true history, and we don't even know, but I can tell you it's totally not what we're taught. I mean, look at that, Kev. That just looks amazing.
It's
amazing.
I mean, I'm lost for words, Scott. The more you zoom it out, actually, I think there's probably the best bet because you can really see that. I mean, I don't know. Pareidolia, again, it takes over, right? Once you see the face, you can't unsee it. But Scott,
No.
you were telling me earlier, you've got a highly skeptical brother, your mum, that they walked in when you were looking at this. Tell the audience what happened there, because again, I think this is really critical because these are people that are, your mum's into our woo, but your brother, not so much, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I was watching your video on it earlier, and my mom kind of peeked in and, was like, wow, what's with the alien head? I mean, that's exactly what she said. And I was like, well, yeah, I was like, that's exactly what we're trying to figure out here because, this is what was found in Antarctica, know? And then my brother peeks in, and my brother's super skeptical. Like, he's really not the kind of person to be into the woo and stuff,
Give me a week one, Scott. I'll change all of that.
Right.
Well, he's slowly. We're slowly getting him into it, but he's very logically minded. Perhaps too logically minded. But he peeked in and he's like, whoa, what's with that face? And I was like, okay, so if even he's over there going, that looks like a face, I mean, and just that's immediately what pops out to him, then that's something. And I was pointing out earlier, I was like, even the head, it looks like an elongated skull, doesn't it?
It does do. And again, we all three of us say it's hard to really tell, right? Because you've got the sun coming in, you've got shadows being cast, but it does look as if that goes into some kind of pointy head. I can't deny that. It does look like it. And then, again, I can't stop seeing the grey alien, and that might be clouding my vision here because it looks almost like the stereotypical grey alien. It's got the small kind of chin underneath here. That's what I think. But again, Joe, once you see that, I mean, Anne's seen it earlier on, and she said that looks like one of these ancient samurai dudes. And I can't deny that either.
You know what? That's kind of what I thought too. Is like a samurai warrior.
Yeah, I can't deny it. Looks like that too. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But
just my gut is telling me ancient civilization building a monument to these otherworldly or supernatural beings.
Here we go.
Here's my contribution for our expedition. I'll lead the way, follow me. Smoke me if you got 'em. It's a rough-eyed brown chicken, brown cow.
Brown chicken, brown cow, grey alien.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Let me level with you. That AI sound, and that was the most awful one you got. There was no
No reason to sack Brian?
No, but more important, Brian had a little more flair to him, man. You know, when he talked.
See, Kev. See, we need
more
Brian back.
monotone.
It's me thinking with my nuts
whatever.
again, man. It's me thinking with my nuts. There's an advert in the UK, and I mean, AOC takes second place to the Travago girl, and she's from Australia. And that makes me think of her, dude. Not happening? Will we go back to Brian?
Please?
I'm trying to bring a female into the stream. I'm getting accused of being a toxic male misogynist every single day. So I thought if we
You're
try and
gonna
bring.
anyway, though.
That is very true, Joe. That is very, very true.
See, Kev, go woke, go broke.
Absolutely. You see that you're right. I should listen to my own kind of mantra, man. I need to stop that, or I'll be out of here. But just a guy, thank you very, very much, brother. And to anyone out there considering, if you can support the stream, it's the YouTuber end of the month syndrome here, so it'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, most of my videos nowadays get demonetized because I refuse to stop talking about the certain topics that I know that the algorithm doesn't like. So the streams here and people like Shannon, Just a Guy, and the members of the YouTube channel as well, and obviously the Patreons. I've got a Patreon page. That's what really keeps me going every month, because you don't make anything on the ads, Joe, even on the ads that I do get to run on the odd video that passes the algorithm, you know. So these people that chip in here, you know, it might seem like nothing. $5, that's a heck of a lot to somebody with nothing. So I truly, truly, truly appreciate everyone. And again, it's not essential because, as you've seen all week long, the coffee break, the new thing I've started, I'm going to be here. Yeah, regardless, I'll be here. And with stuff like this going on in the news, there's always stuff to talk about. But I want to come to the video you sent me, Joe, so we can compare other people's evidence of perhaps giants and structures in stone, shall we say. I don't think I'm too won over by this.
It's interesting, some of these, they are. Some of them are hard to see. Other ones are a little better, but
and some of them are absolutely blatantly photoshopped.
Just blatantly photoshopped.
And we'll start with a blatantly photoshopped one to get
Photoshop.
This one is there you go.
This is mushmouth. That's what I like to call it. That's mushmouth.
Okay, so we've got him now. That's fake.
I don't know. Now, did you ever watch the Cosby Kids? You know, Fat Albert.
No, dude. I don't think we got that over. I'm not sure. We've got another incoming in a second, boys.
Incoming.
Oh, hang on though. Do we have the alert on this one?
Where is it?
Better get back to this one here so I know I've got the alert open. If not, yes. Yeah. It's from Brody. Listen to her. She's cute. Listen.
Purple chicken, purple cow, smoking purple kush every day.
Oh, see, I don't think she's that bad, and thank you so much, Brody. I wish I was sitting with you right now, smoking some purple kush.
Let me.
If you're gonna abuse my AI assistant, no, you can't be honest with me, Joe. Just lie, make me happy. Just tell me she's great.
Scotty, would you help me out here? It's awful.
Right, do you know what I'm gonna do? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change it, right, as we progress in the show. Just for you, Joe. Just for you. Just for you and Scott. Because it's not just me here on the stream. We'll have the three of us. So I think it's only fair that we agree on one. And I think Brian's got the job, right? Scotty liked Brian. You liked Brian, Joe. So Brian will come back, okay? I'll take it. I'll suck it up. I'll take defeat. 2 against 1. Democratic decision and all. You know, in the UK, we ignore democratic decisions. People out in the streets today crying in the streets because Parliament's been shut because we're daring to go ahead with our Brexit. These enemies of democracy. But democracy holds true here. I'm good like that. 2-1. I'm out. So's the Australian chick. I'll fix it. But that thing we're looking at on the screen right now...
It's not, though. How do you call that an Australian chick? It sounds more like a tranny.
Oh! Damn! Brown chicken, brown tranny?
Brown tranny, brown cow.
Dude, that's a bit off, is it not?
I'm just saying.
Damn, man. Joe Joseph is on savage form today. This is usually when we get a good stream, right? But this thing here, I'm sorry. No.
I can't even call it a person.
Dude, let me rip this apart. This is absolutely ludicrous. You sent me a video
that's Mushmouth from Cosby Kids.
No, you sent me a video from God's Flat Earth. Bad start right away. And then I come across things like this. And then let's have a look at some of the other ones out there.
Okay, go.
A sleeping giant in Peru? Where?
I don't see it.
Pareidolia. There's his head. And he's kind of lying down there.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Okay, I see it. Okay, thanks.
The same thing again, I think. I take it.
Now, okay, but look at that. That's kind of interesting.
Well, it's definitely interesting, yes.
It's not photoshopped.
But it's not that.
But is it?
Well, how do you know that's not photoshopped? I don't know. Because when you look at the rest of them, there's definitely a case to be made that there's something going on. You know, what's this? 2 giants. Where?
I don't see that.
I don't see that one either. And the reason I'm bringing this up...
Where's the other one?
Where's...
Sleeping Beauty? I guess you could make a case for that. Maybe.
I mean, that does. It looks like an eyeball there, a wee nose there, but...
See, that's not that. That's not the alien head.
And then that is not an alien head either. And then...
But that's...
This one here. I want to show this one here, because this one, myself and Scott got a right good laugh at. This is the Catalina Island pregnant giant. It's so pregnant they had to take a marker on Photoshop, circle it, and then make it a different color. What on earth's name? Who in their right mind would put this in a video and claim that they have any evidence of anything here? This is what I thought I was going into debunk today. Something of the kind of...
something of that ilk.
Yes, something like that. But then, like I say...
That's not what we got.
No, exactly, boys. And Scott's sitting laughing as well. Scotty, what's going on here, man? I'm more confused than I've ever been. I thought as the day went on, speaking to you guys, it would become clearer. It's getting murkier, dude. I don't know what's happening.
Very murky. Very.
It definitely some weird stuff going down in Antarctica, and you know, it always seems to come back to Antarctica, man. You know, we talk about it a lot. You know, we talk about Antarctica
that hasn't been touched.
You know. And you know, I'm like I said, I'm still thinking ancient civilization building a monument to otherworldly entities that once, you know, came to the earth. And you know, I look at it kind of in the same ilk as like the Nazca lines or something like that. They're building something that could only be seen from above.
Right.
You know, that you could only see from flying up high, right?
Much like you know, the Great Pyramids being just so precisely placed on the earth that you could only know that stuff if you had that knowledge of above. And that's why, you know, things like this.
Yeah, these things were not meant to be. These things were not meant to. Yeah, they weren't meant to be viewed from the ground. They were meant to be viewed from an aerial, you know, from an aerial view. So
exactly. But I'll bet you it was just as impressive from the ground. You know what I mean? Just like the pyramids. You go up to the pyramids and like, damn. I mean, you know it's a pyramid and it looks pretty damn impressive from the ground, but it looks equally impressive from above. You know, just like the Great Wall of China. You can see that damn thing from space. and that's ancient. You know, there's just so many things out there that we just don't know the true story of. And here's just some more, to me, unbelievable. It's not so much evidence, but God, does it open a can of worms?
I mean, how do we get further into this, guys? Because you're talking about one of the most remote places on the planet. You're talking about, even if you can get there, there's restricted places on Antarctica. I mean, how do we take this investigation further? I think all we're going to be left with is this interesting image and a whole heap of noise surrounding it. And we're adding to that because we don't know. We're never going to be able to really take this investigation to the next stage.
Do you have the coordinates of that pyramid they found?
I can get them.
Like,
I can certainly
where
get them.
it is in relation to that thing?
Yeah, 2 seconds, right? But just to let you know, the Australian girl has been sacked. She's absolutely raging. Brian is back in the hot seat. He said to me, you know, I knew I'd be back here at some point, Kev. So, yeah, there you go. I'll let you off. Antarctica pyramid. Let's see if we can find the coordinates. Now, I was checking earlier on today as well, when Buzz Aldrin was down there. And I was thinking, could Buzz have been going to see this? Could John Kerry have been going to see this? Because, let's face it.
I just wonder, to get to the South Pole, Kev, is not easy.
No. I mean, I had...
and then these old farts are going to the South Pole? Are you kidding me?
Brad Olson on the show. One of the hardest journeys he's ever had to make, and he's a fit dude. Do you know what I mean? And they had to go across some seas.
That's why I find it hard to believe Aldrin made it down to the South Pole. It just doesn't make it... I don't know. Call me crazy.
Check this out then. Let's see. Search this one. Okay, hang on. It's not far away. It's down the coast. So there's where they're saying this pyramid is. Now, we're not going to be able to see it there, but that's the pyramid. And then if we scroll back out.
How do you like that, though? If you think about it, it's along the coast. Just like that. And I'll bet you.
There to there.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
Well, then we're talking about a civilization that lived along the coast.
Yep.
Right.
Along the coast, and
that's
what
where
for?
That's where most
on
people.
The ridge line. Look at that ridge line. It's all along the ridge line there. Mm-hmm.
That's where most civilizations tend to congregate, right, along the coast, because fishing and it's just a natural place where humans will set up settlements and cities, stuff like that. So it would make sense that you'll find stuff like that along the coastline.
So wouldn't that be interesting that sitting there in the ice is probably the ruins of an ancient civilization?
That's what I'm thinking.
Probably along the lines of Atlantean or something like that.
Or what we now know as Atlanteans, because do we really know what those people were?
We don't.
No, we don't.
But the evidence is sparse. I mean, it's there, but it's sparse. And access is tough. But like I said, this hasn't been touched since it was destroyed. That's pretty damn cool. So what we need is a galactic-sized hairdryer, and we will accelerate global warming. And we'll get to the bottom of this thing. We may have to kill about 90% of the Earth's population to figure out the truth. But it kind of falls in line with the Georgia Guidestones anyway, so we'll be okay. And
sounds like Bill Gates or Prince Philip. Now he's want to wipe out that many in the population. So what
we're gonna do? This is how we win the war, Kev. We get there first. They're like, shit, somebody else got there first. Damn it! As they drowned from the increased ocean levels.
So do you think this is just a head, like the Sphinx? Well, like the face on Mars, sorry. I think it's just a head. Like yeah. And again, I'd never thought of that today, guys, when Scott, you had said, and Joe, both of you said that this was definitely meant to be viewed from above, and I hadn't really considered that today. I was still in full skeptical kind of shock that I'd found something that was genuine for a change, because there's that much crap out there. So
Yeah.
it definitely meant to be viewed from an elevated position
I'd say.
at a time in human history when we were pretty much not even hunter-gatherer type people, right?
Yeah,
That's a
supposedly.
bunch of shit.
And like I said, it's just like the Nazca lines, right? You can't see them from the ground at ground level. You have
Yep.
to be flying up above them. I mean, that's how they were
That's
discovered
what I'm saying.
to begin with, And so this looks like one of those kind of situations to where, if you're at ground level, yeah, I'm sure it was impressive from the ground, when it was in its full glory, right? Like if you're walking up to it, you probably would see like the side profile of a head, right, sticking up out of the whatever this monument was that they built, but to see it in its full glory, you'd have to be flying above it. So there would be a time, it was a time in history when there was things flying around, flying machines.
Yep.
And makes me think of the Indian texts. Was it the Vermanas?
Yes,
and
Scott. Yep.
all of that time period when
Well, we've got the Hindu text describing flying Vimanas and details of nuclear war.
Yeah, that's right. Was that the
I got that
Maharata?
here. I got it on one of your favorite websites.
Oh no, where are you taking me, Joe?
Are you ready?
Not Gaia. Oh, no, don't do this to me, dude. Don't spoil
Come
my
on.
woo. Don't make it dirty.
All right, I won't do it.
No, on you go, dude. Because remember, every misinformation, disinformation site is going to have good information in there too. And I don't discount everything that Gaia do. Got a couple of problems with some of the characters that have kicked about there in the past. They're not to do with it anymore. So hit me with it, Joe, if you've got a link.
Okay, so anyway, no, it's not Gaia. It's Mysterious Universe. And it's Brett Swanser, The Mystery of Ancient Nuclear War.
Have you got a
This is
link?
one of the worst. Yes. Oh, let me do that. Let me give that to you
let's
first.
link me up so the audience can see our deep woo. And people in the chat room were rightly talking about Nazi bases down at the South Pole. Remember we had Richard Allen Miller just nonchalantly dropping in there that he'd been down to the Nazi base and he'd seen the 17 berths for the Nazi submarines and a big opening in the ice that nobody could get to the bottom of. Then I had him on more recently and he was speculating, and he said that himself, it was speculation, but he thought with the ice receding and with technology advancing, they were able to get down to the bottom of this giant hole that he was talking about. And what they found there is anyone's guess. Now, the doc was really kind of clear on the fact he was speculating himself. Good few years since he's been there in his kind of role as some science advisor to like the X-Files team and stuff like that.
Amazing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. But I've got that link here now. This is good. This is a fascinating thing. This is one of the things I heard on Coast to Coast when I was just starting to kind of come into this information. And it blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind.
It really, what got me going down this road was a book called Earth's Earliest Ages by George Pember. And this guy was a skeptic like us. And but he was a Christian skeptic. And he was around the time of kind of like a Christian or like an evangelical type of renaissance in the 19th century. But it's just kind of, to make a long story short, he was kind of a skeptic against like the Millerites and other movements. And he said, basically, he made a case, a biblical case for pre-Adamite civilizations, or to simplify it, other versions of life and humanity prior to Adam, which I don't know, looking at things now and the way that this stuff is kind of, all this information is being presented now, you can make a good argument for it. Like Randall Carlson, he does a great job of using, the Greenland ice cores to detail a little better, give us a better idea that there certainly was different conditions at different times on this planet that where life as we know it wouldn't be able to survive, but perhaps a different version of it could. And that's what we see with some of the evidence of different life forms and things like that. This is an interesting article that kind of gets into that. It says one of the worst threats to hang over the heads of humankind in recent times is that of the grim specter of nuclear war, the effects of which we got a brief and tragic taste of back in World War II, with the bombs dropped to horrific effect on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. The thought that the whole world could be reduced to such devastation is a fear that constantly looms over us in a day and age with good reason. But this must surely be a modern fear, because after all, nuclear weapons are devices of sadistic human ingenuity that have only come about within the last century with the development of our macabre technology. Are they not? However, according to ancient texts and some anomalous evidence, it's been alleged by certain conspiracy theorists that nuclear strikes were possibly carried out thousands of years ago, far back in the mists of time.
See, how can they call that conspiracy theorists? I mean, that's just more
Conspiracy
people
theorists.
researching. We're not saying that like a couple of ancient aliens got in cahoots with each other and decided, we're gonna do this and we're gonna hide it from people in the future and things like that.
Just like it's a blanket term. It's
I
the
know,
same
I
thing.
know,
And
I know.
calling people anti-Semitic. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. No, I'm not.
Don't say that word. You'll get me demonetized already, Joe.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that people use anti-Semitism to say anti, like, Israel.
Oh, it's just a way to shut people up. They do it in the UK all the time, dude. The minute you start
Right,
saying
but it
something
means
that's
anti-Middle East.
means like anti-Arabic.
Middle Eastern,
Yeah,
right.
anti-Arabic speaking. It doesn't even apply to like people
Doesn't
in
even
Israel.
apply, but that's
No.
what I'm saying. So it doesn't even make, so conspiracy theorists, same thing. It's just a word to shut people up because you don't want to be labeled that. So it goes on to say one of the main historical oddities that's been used to illustrate the possibility of an ancient nuclear war supposedly contained within the 8th century Sanskrit epic of the Mahabharata. Which
Nice pronunciation, dude. Nice.
The Kurukshetra War and battle between Rama and the ancient king known as the demon Ravana. Within these pages are claimed to be references to some catastrophic event that in many ways sounds exactly like what one would expect a nuclear strike to look like. Such an annihilating explosion described as being brighter than 1,000 suns, which caused all trees to instantly ignite into flame and reduced everything in its path to ashes. Indian historian Kesari Mohan Ganguly has said of such weapons of mass destruction in old texts, Indian sacred writings are full of such descriptions, which sound like an atomic blast as experienced in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The passage tells of combat where explosions of final weapons decimate entire armies, causing crowds of warriors with steeds and elephants and weapons to be carried away as if they were dry leaves of trees. Now, interestingly, the text also mentioned that survivors of the catastrophe later fell ill and lost their hair, which undeniably sounds very much like radiation sickness. Thousands of years ago, before they should have ever known what that was. According to one purported rough translation, one section reads this: a single projectile charged with the power in the universe, all the power in the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as 10,000 suns rose in all its splendor. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes an entire race. The corpses were so burned as to be unrecognizable. Their hair and nails fell out. Pottery broke with an apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from this fire, the soldiers threw themselves into the river. Besides this text, There are various archaeological sites throughout the region, and indeed the world, that supposedly hold evidence of such nuclear destruction in an era long before World War II. One is a site of a mysterious ancient city of Jodhpur, which lies along the edge of the Great Thar Desert in India, and is said to have long been plagued by unusually high levels of radiation since ancient times. Inhabitants here have long been said to have a much higher incidence of cancer, birth defects, and other radiation-related complications than other areas. And radiation readings here have quite often gone off the charts. So why should that be? Another is skeletons supposedly unearthed at ancient ruins of the city of Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan in 1927, which are infused with high levels of radiation and appear to have been people who dropped spontaneously where they stood to lie there in the streets, as if some great weapon of mass destruction that had struck them down instantly. Many of these skeletons, which are strangely devoid of the amount of decay one would expect, were purportedly found lying face down right in the streets, in some cases still holding hands, as if they'd been anticipating the doom that they'd seen coming for them. And some of the rocks of these ruins seem to have been partially crystallized, as if by an intense flash of heat. Yeah. Indeed, British Indian researcher David Davenport claimed to have found rocks with evidence that they had been mysteriously fused and blasted into glass with heat as high as 1,500 degrees Celsius. Something very unusual happened here around 2500 BCE, but what it is remains unclear. Speaking of anonymous, this crazy fused glass thing, there are other sites around the world that exhibit the same phenomenon. December of 1932, a survivor from the Egyptian Geological Survey by the name of Patrick Clayton found a mysterious sheet of glass buried in the sands of the Great Sand Sea near the Sadu Plateau in Egypt. Now, such mysterious glass chunks have been found in such disparate places like the deserts of Libya and the Sahara, the Mojave, and others. Experts who have looked at such unusual glass formations have often likened them to the sort of glass left behind by nuclear tests at places like White Sands Missile Range in southern New Mexico. Engineer Albion W. Hart famously once likened the glass left behind at the missile range to similar deposits he had personally witnessed in the deserts of Africa, but speculated that the ones he had seen would have had to come from a blast roughly 10,000 times more powerful than detonations at White Sands. Now, some scientists have tried to explain these vast glass deposits as the result of some meteoric impact, but the lack of any crater makes such speculation problematic.
I was going to say that. Usually there'd be a crater when you're getting an impact like that. Don't see no craters when the ones he stated so far.
There's also high purity and transparency exhibited by much of this glass, which is not consistent with a meteorite strike. So what caused the weird glass deposits? No one really has a clue.
Let me jump in here real quick. And you know also why you wouldn't see a crater, even in a nuclear strike? Because nuclear weapons are detonated above ground.
Above ground, right.
Yep.
Evidence
the optimal height is something like 500 feet above ground.
Yep.
That's right.
So
says evidence such as this and the other accounts we've looked at have caused some theorists to proclaim that it points to some sort of event or events involving nuclear weapons far in the past. Although how this could have occurred is left to speculation, such as that it was due to time travelers or perhaps aliens or both.
Time travelers?
Yes, why not? Whatever the cause may be.
If we're going full woo tonight, we might as well throw time travelers in there as well, Joe.
Got to. Why not? When looking at these cases, that at least the evidence for some sort of ancient nuclear apocalypse is rather solid and undeniable. But did any of this actually really happen? Unfortunately, there are many problems with this idea, not the least of which is that no official historical or archaeological account gives any mention of such a cataclysm. And there's been much doubt cast upon the veracity of the claims of ancient texts describing such doomsday events. There has also been much criticism aimed at the methodologies used and the way findings made at places like Mohenjo-Daro were analyzed and interpreted, with later studies showing that the bodies were not merely lying in the streets, but had actually merely been displaced from their original graves. Their bodies were also explained as being so well preserved due to the dry and hot climate of the region. Other findings, such as the fused glass and radiation, have also been looked at with a skeptical eye, likely caused by rational reasons. And since the buildings themselves are mostly intact, it seems odd to presume a nuclear blast should have swept through this site, although the area could have been built up again after the strike. The ancient text describes some doomsday scenario have been called into question, with Brian Dunning from the site Skeptoid perusing the translated version of the Mahabharata for any references to a nuclear war and finding none, leaving him forced to maintain that such tales are fabricated at best. Despite all of this debunking, the matter is not really settled for some, and many mysteries remain. There are certainly many conspiracy theorists, like three of us, who stand by the notion that such an ancient nuclear war really did happen, that the evidence proves it, and it seems that the debate will keep going on for some time. It's curious to wonder about how, if such an event ever really took place, did all this come to pass? And why would such sophisticated agents of destruction be available so many thousands of years ago, and who would have been behind deploying them, and for what reasons? We'll never know either way, but we can hope that it never happens again.
I reckon I should get a job for this site Skeptoid. That sounds like my kind of place these days.
Oh, yeah. Interesting that you say that, because I have it.
Well, I was just looking at this, and this is another example of pareidolia right here. This is an amazing picture, right? But when you look at it long enough, you start to see what could be two eyes, big round nose, laughing big mouth, you see? And once you start seeing it, once you start seeing that, but then that doesn't come into play when you're looking at this bad boy here. You don't have to stretch the imagination or look out the corner of your eye to see that one for sure. But this story here, Joe, this is, like I say, it's one of the kind of most fascinating things that I've heard, you know, whether it's the Sahara, whether it's the tales in the Mahabharata, or any of the other various accounts as well. It would certainly appear that there has been wars in our past that we have no idea about. None.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Well, I've got the Skeptoid episode up.
What's the Skeptoid saying, man? Come on, give us the Skeptoid's view.
So here's the Skeptoid's response to this. It says, sadly for this legend, there's nothing remotely like this story in any archaeological publications. Archaeological information about the excavations of Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and other Indus Valley sites is widely available online and in print, and there's simply no such thing as radioactive skeletons or skeletons in large numbers or holding hands or sprawled in any way that the archaeologists saw to print.
Well, Joe, can I stop you there? I mean, do we know the half-life? I mean, we don't even know what kind of fuel or what kind of nuclear material was used here, so we can't determine any half-lives or anything like that, right? So, I mean, does it necessarily discount all the reports or all the theories about nuclear war because we don't have skeletal remains with radiation in them?
Well, no. He's basically debunking that. Now, he goes, the next easiest thing to check would be the quotes from the Mahabharata.
You got it right the first time. Come on, man. The Mahabharata.
Now, at a minimum, I wanted to see the context of those passages. So I went online to a searchable Mahabharata to look for these quotes and couldn't find them. Couldn't find anything vaguely like them. Could it be possible that whoever originated this tale made up its primary source? Let's set that possibility aside for a moment and see what we can verify about the rest of the story. How about the residual radioactivity west of Jodhpur? There's one little fact that casts some pretty grave doubt on the claim that Jodhpur is in a zone with dangerously high radiation. And the story says we detect that radiation today and suffer high birth defects and cancer left over from this nuclear war 8 to 12,000 years ago. Radioactivity goes down over time, so if it's that lethal today, it would have been more lethal 550 years ago when the city of Jodhpur was founded. It would seem a poor choice to locate a new city, however. Jodhpur was founded and had flourished and has flourished ever since. Furthermore, the vast majority of radioactive isotopes produced in a nuclear blast have extremely short half-lives measured in seconds, hours, or days, and are reduced to safe levels very quickly. Those that pose the greatest threat to human health are cesium-137 and strontium-90, which have half-lives of 30 and 28 years. And so even these would have been reduced to well below the natural background levels thousands of years ago. Other long-lived isotopes are produced by nuclear explosions, but at much lower amounts. Note that despite the atomic destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, no harmful radiation persists today in either city. Put together all the radiation data we know, and we know for a fact, with no doubt, that any claims of modern radiation in India proving a prehistoric nuclear war are false. So we have good reason to regard this story with great skepticism. And he says, for example, the idea of an ancient city with 500,000 people west of Jodhpur, not very likely. There are no ancient cities anywhere in the region west of Jodhpur in the Thar Desert, and 500,000 people would be immense and pretty hard for archaeology to miss. This part of the story has to be either dead wrong or made up. It says, but that's not the only part of geography that doesn't make sense. He says if it was a nuclear war, it was practically a nationwide theater. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa are about 500 kilometers from Jodhpur, one to the north and one to the west. None of these places are anywhere near each other. So how about this giant unexplained crater near Bombay, Lona Crater, which was some 775 kilometers south of Jodhpur, even farther away, is indeed a real crater. Rim to rim, it measures about 1.8 kilometers. It's blasted out of thick layers of volcanic basalt deposited over the plateau 66 million years ago. If the crater was indeed formed by a nuclear blast 8 to 12,000 years ago, dating techniques should make this easy to determine. So for a long time, the accepted age of Lonar Crater was 52,000 years, far too old, of course, to be part of the alleged nuclear war. But two newer measurements using argon radiometric dating instead of the found older dates of 570,000 and 656,000 years.
It's a long time.
So you can go on, but basically, this guy is pretty skeptical about the ancient nuclear wars. I'm not. I mean, well, let me say this. I'm skeptical about the nuclear war portion of it, like there being nuke technology, because I don't think they went down that road in that version.
Exactly. I was about to say, how do we even know it was nuclear weapons that were
That's
used?
what I'm saying. I think they went down. It was more of a vibration, more of a frequency, more of a
just an energy weapon,
just
laser
energy. Right, exactly. They knew how to harness the energy of the universe better than we do.
Yeah, can you imagine a war being fought with like Tesla technology, energy weapons? Something along that line.
Something along that line. Where, think about it. Down in the the megalithic structures of South America, you've got these unbelievable megalithic walls where each stone is different, yet it's fitted perfectly in place, and everybody that sees it says, "Wow, how do you do that?" Unless you're molding that stone like that, so that there is just this perfect fit.
And you also have to take into account that this guy that's trying to debunk all of this, he's basing all of his sort of, his debunking off of mainstream history.
Well, of course.
So
And we're also, Scott, he's also trying to make it fit with technology we have today.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And
Well,
so
and that's what people will typically do is
Yeah.
that they base it on their own life experience. And, oh, well, what's your source? Is it a scholarly source?
and
Scholars say.
there are other Indian texts besides the Mahabharata that describe, these sky battles and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
And the way they describe it, to me, to me, the from the way they describe it, it sounds like lasers, like they're using energy weapons as opposed to
Yes.
nuclear
Yes.
weapons, because they describe like beams and stuff being fired out of the tips of their, whatever these weapons are that they have. So um yeah, we could just be looking at some sort of high technology that we don't possess right now, and that's what was being used in these wars and these battles that were taking place. And those would be just as destructive, if not even more destructive, than a nuclear weapon, if they had that ability. So and you would see a lot of the same sort of effects too. I'm sure an energy weapon, and laser weapons would also have the ability to turn rock into glass, and all of the same kind of things that you would see with a high, high
Or
temperatures like that.
like we see here on this wall.
Look at that. Come
Now,
on.
see that? Okay, that's what you call liquid. They could
Liquefaction.
liquefy
Yeah.
stone cold, and we see it in earthquakes. It's called liquefaction, where the ground actually almost liquefies. They were able to mold stone cold.
It almost make it like rock pliable, Joe. That's the way I kind of
Right.
think of it in my mind. You could almost like
Because how
mold it.
else do you get that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, we can't do that kind of stuff today, Scott, right?
Yeah, you would have to find a way to push some kind of resonant frequency through the rock that
Right.
resonates through through its through the matter, and then it would essentially turn it into Play-Doh.
Exactly. And then you mold it into place, because that's the only way that happens.
Yep. I'm totally on board with that there, because I mean, some of them you read about this. I mean, you can't even like get a piece of paper in between these rocks. I mean, they're
Right.
absolutely solid. They're in
Thousands and
place.
thousands years later, dude.
Yep.
You're talking, this ain't yesterday.
No,
Those stood the test of time.
and look at that. I mean, it's quite
And then also-
mind-boggling.
And then also, to counter some of this debunking stuff, how he said, well, the structures are there, they weren't blown away by this nuclear blast or whatever. Well, if we're talking an energy weapon, you're not going to really see a shockwave. You're just going to see everyone in a radius basically
Right.
fried, but the structures are still going to be standing.
Well, one of our members in the chat, Mammoth Hunter, says they would sit around the rock and chant, and when a certain frequency was reached, the stone would simply lift up into the air and they would direct it to where they wanted. And I think that's I remember that story. I think it's something to do, is it not in Tibet, where they've got the Tibetan monks and they've got there's also trumpets and things, and they stand and they all direct the trumpets into it's like a focus, it's a bowl.
Like a beam or something.
Yeah, and
like
it focuses that energy. I've heard of that before, because there was reports, and God forbid, the first person I heard telling me that was David Wilcock. Not a big fan of his anymore, but it's a report that's out there. People have said that they've witnessed things like that in more modern times. Now, make of that what you will, but I'm definitely for the frequency stuff. Absolutely. It's got to be frequency. It's got to be natural energies that we don't use today in our technology. We've gone down a different road. We've gone down a different route. This was more natural, organic energies, would you say? Harnessing earth energies, vibration.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. That they somehow knew the natural resonance of that stone and were able to liquefy it in a way that they could form it and shape it.
It's quite staggering. I mean, look at that. It's just bonkers, guys. It's bonkers.
That's what I'm saying. See this? It's in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's in plain sight. All of this stuff is sitting right in front of us, and it's screaming at us, this is the real history. This is what it's all about. And you can't, you're not getting that. That's why it's so important that we put this stuff out there, at least to get people to think, wow, what is that? And what's that all about? And, start diving into it. I mean, that's in Peru. And I know that L.A. Marzulli's done a ton of stuff about, that region of the world. So there's a lot of evidence to support we have not been told the truth. So then what is the truth? Because somewhere out there, people know. There in Egypt, there was a documentary done on the pyramids, and they interviewed a gentleman that was supposedly the ancient keeper of knowledge, that has to pass it down to his progeny, each one, and they memorize the history. And he paints a different picture as well, not that standard Egyptology, but of all the subterranean structures underneath the pyramids in the plateau region. I mean, the pyramid is great and it's grand, but there's such a vast structure underneath, and I have no idea. I mean, there again speaks of, you see that thing down in Antarctica, and it's just immense. Well, so is that whole subterranean structure underneath the pyramids. So it's just this unbelievably immense, these chambers. It just makes you think of like inner Earth and stuff like that. It's crazy. That's what it makes me think of.
Big time. But you mentioned the Sahara in there as well in one of those reports.
Yeah,
and
the glass.
Well, check out. I mean, we often talk about the structures and Egypt and things like that, but the Sahara is one of the places we never really touch on yet. There's some really interesting stuff that's like been. I mean, we were talking earlier on about this emerging from the ice, but in the Sahara, it's stuff emerging from the desert. And again, it shows a part of the story, a part of human history that really we don't know very much about at all. There's Jordan as well,
Because they're just, Jordan is an absolute treasure trove.
Yep.
Petra is an unbelievable place to go, Kev.
I would love to go there. I absolutely, dude. I mean,
I had the privilege of going there, and I'll tell you what, it is everything that. I mean, it is a Disneyland of woo. I'll put it that way.
And then we've got I know that's not a giant there, but still some of the things that they're uncovering over there. It's weird.
Absolutely.
It's bizarre,
but again,
man.
just more evidence. And unfortunately, these regions are just so remote and so hard to get to that it makes it very difficult to explore.
That's what's really annoying me about the whole. On you go, Scott.
I was going to say, not only are they remote, and hard to get to, then you have to deal with, governments over there.
Absolutely. That threatens their power.
Yeah, and so, I mean, look at Saudi Arabia. Look at how much stuff is in Saudi Arabia, but they don't allow people in to look at this stuff, and they don't want really people going and looking at this stuff. And so it's just these things are located in, a very volatile geopolitical zone, an area. I mean, it just seems so interesting how that area of the world has just been this hotbed of conflict and, everything that has happened throughout history just seems to focus around that area. You know what I mean? Even to this day, just everything is focused, in that area of the world. And I just think it ties back to a lot of this ancient stuff that has occurred, in these areas, that this was like the hotbed. This was the zone where a lot of this stuff was based at. And even to this day, it's almost like we have this genetic memory of things that occurred back then. And it almost spills over into our our geopolitical fights that we still carry on. You know what I mean? It's very strange how all of this stuff just seems to be located in that area. You know, and I just it is it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, look like Iraq, right?
Hmm.
You know, so much conflict, so much war. Two different. We went to war there two different times, and where was the first place that special forces and these people went? They went to the museums. They went, and there just seemed to be this offshoot of different things going on other than what we were there to do to liberate Iraq or whatever. But why were we creeping around these ancient sites? Why were we going into museums? So it's almost like there's this underlying other issue. You know what I mean? These other things that these conflicts maybe are really about. And that the people are told, well, there's just a dictator over here who's oppressing people, and we need to liberate this country, when maybe the reasons we're going there are completely different. And it ties back to a lot of this ancient stuff we're talking about, a lot of these structures we're talking about, a lot of these ancient artifacts.
I mean, Scott, there are even rumors of stargates in Iraq, and I don't know how much of that's true, but if you're going to find some somewhere, I would imagine it probably would be Iraq, Iran, Syria, around these locations.
So maybe that is the true reason why there's so much conflict in that area of the world. Maybe these wars are being carried out for completely different reasons. That the public don't really know about.
Multifaceted, I would say, multi-layered, because I mean, we often talk about how the bad guys in World War II were they had that unit that was going to the Himalayas, they went to Egypt, they were trying to retrieve ancient lost technology. We're no
They
different
were in the
nowadays. We're no
Yeah,
different. Like you said, Scott, that's exactly the first thing we went for, right?
yeah, exactly. And where did those bad guys during the 30s and 40s go? They went to the Middle East. I mean, you think, okay, well, they're going to take over Europe and they're going to do this and do that. No, no, no. They went to North Africa, right? And they were in the Middle East and they were looking for artifacts. Oh, and just conveniently, they were down in Antarctica. Oh, and they were in the Himalayas. They were looking into, you know, Hindu texts, Indian texts, and all of this stuff. So they were into all of the stuff we're talking about right now. And they were looking into all of this stuff and they were trying to find something. And the question is, did they find something? What did they find? You know, and how much of this technology that we're now, you know, experiencing now in possession of, how much of that was derived from some of that stuff that was found? You know, because afterwards we had Operation Paperclip. A lot of that German knowledge ended up finding its way, here into the United States and Russia.
Yep.
Russia had their own Operation Paperclip, basically.
A lot of
They
people
took their own.
forget that, Scott. A lot of people forget that they went west and east. You know.
Yeah, and why is it that all of a sudden you just saw this convenient rise in technology from both the East and the West at the same time? From Russia and the United States. You can't chalk that all up to, oh well, secrets were leaked from the U.S. to Russia. No, they were experiencing this technological explosion at the exact same time we were, and that just conveniently occurred right after Operation Paperclip. So it just makes you wonder, what did the Germans find? What
well,
did they really find down in Antarctica? What did they find in the Himalayas? What did they find in the Middle East? And what did they really develop? And what did they manage to, create from all of this stuff? Just,
I was speaking to Brad Olson recently. There's a show there. I'll not play it or anything, but he's actually the one person. In fact, I've spoke to two people who have been to Antarctica, because I've spoke to Brad. He recently went on an expedition there, and I've spoke to Dr. Brian Keating, and he ran one of the experiments down there. It was called the Bicep experiment. But two people have spoke to down there. But one of the things Brad got into, And I was really interested in this, Scott. Look at Scott chilling out in this new Gucci chair of his, man. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Comfort. So happy to see you comfortable, man. But Brad was talking about not just like the Nazis in Antarctica and the bases and then Operation High Jump with Admiral Byrd and all that stuff, but he actually went back to the turn of the century, Scott. And there was an argument between Britain and Argentina back then about who would lay claim to Antarctica. Now, back the turn of the century, it's not as if any of them were eyeing on drilling rights or anything like that down there. So why was it already, at the start of the 19th century, such a highly contested piece of real estate? What made it so important to both the UK and at that time Argentina? And then, of course, we fast forward right into the 80s, and we had that bizarre Falkland War. Fighting over, you know, the Sandwich Islands down there, the Falklands and that. And then that's where the whole thing with the black goo comes into it, as you can see here from the screenshot. Point being, there's obviously knowledge somewhere, Scott, as to why this area was so precious even before World War II. Even before World War I, if I remember the dates correctly. So there's obviously something somewhere that's leading people to believe, in governments, that there's much importance that lies under that ice. There is many secrets that it's given up, and with the ice receding, and I get it, it comes back in the winter again. I'm not going to go global warming on people or anything like that. But as we can see from this here, we're starting now to see some of those secrets being given up, I think.
Exactly. And, you know, and then why is it that all of a sudden all of the countries around the world decided, okay, let's just sing Kumbaya and let's all go ahead and decide that Antarctica is going to be shared amongst everyone? You know, let's put aside our differences and our conflicts just for this one chunk of land. You know what I mean? Let's all share it. But not only are we just gonna, we're not just gonna share it, but if you decide you want to go there, you got to ask permission.
Yeah.
You have to have clearance and all of this stuff. It's like the most bizarre thing. It's unlike any other place on the planet, right? You know, every other chunk of land on the planet is claimed by someone. It's under the jurisdiction of some country, except for Antarctica. Except that they decide they're going to treat Antarctica almost like they treat space, right?
Yep.
It's the exact same kind of situation, to where, well, it's all an international thing. It's all a cooperative thing that we're all going to share. But yeah, if you still want to come down here, you got to get security clearance, because we don't just let anybody come and visit.
Scott.
It's like,
I mean, it's like Area 51 or some kind of restricted place. What are you hiding? It's maybe ice and penguins. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, why can't anybody just jump on a boat and decide that they're going to go to Antarctica? You know?
And after listening to Brad, dude, it's like a white knuckle ride from hell. I asked him, I said, was there any point when you thought, wow, why did I do this? Multiple times, dude, multiple times. There was like 3 or 4 days of straight seasickness. It was horrendous, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super sketchy trip, you know? I mean, the currents and the wave action that, you know, you got to fight through to get down there, I mean, is pretty wild, you know? So, I mean, it takes a pretty hardy, you know, really hardened person who knows how to navigate the ocean, you know, to do it. But still, if you wanted to do it, why can't you do it?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, what's the penalty? What happens to a person if they just show up there?
It would be reported that you got frostbite, but then the 2 bullet holes in your back might be a problem.
I mean, but really though,
No,
I mean,
I know.
You should do a search for that. Like, what happens if you go to Antarctica, you know, unauthorized? Like, if you don't get permission and you just show up there, what is the penalty? That's an interesting question. Um, or is there? There's got to be. I mean, if you have to ask
I mean,
permission,
I've
then
searched it there.
means-
I'll bring it over. But in fact, it just says, I've searched what is the penalty for going to Antarctica. Probably not the best search term in the world, right? I get it. But it's just going into like get a 15-day cruise for $8,895. You know, it's not even cheap to go there. I mean, what's the big fuss? I don't get it, dude. I really don't. And the secrecy is what makes people like me, Scott, Joe, all of you out there come up with these theories. You know, it's that lack of evidence. Again, our brains, it likes to fill in the gaps. It gets intrigued when you're told not to look at somewhere and not to go somewhere. So we're obviously going to try and speculate as to the reasons to that. Somebody in the chat room was saying they think that every president's probably been to the South Pole. If they haven't been there, I would say they've probably been briefed at some point. Or it could be a need-to-know basis, Scott. You know, we know the president isn't the top of the chain when it comes to security clearance. He doesn't need to be.
No, exactly. I'm sure a lot of them have no idea what's going on down there, right?
I mean, John Kerry went down there in the middle of an election. That was what was bizarre about that one. There was like a campaign on when old Rubbery Face went down, right? So, I mean, what was the big rush to get down there when there's like campaigning to be done? Surely you would think it would be more important to keep going on the campaign road, right? No, I'm going to take time out and go into the South Pole with Buzz Aldrin and the Russian head of the Orthodox Church, and nothing to see here. We're just going down to look at the penguins, honest. We're not going to look at big alien faces in the sand or anything, in the sand, in the snow or nothing like that.
That face does kind of look like John Kerry. Maybe we've cracked the case here.
Dude, it looks like me after I've had a really, really good couple of joints and a couple of bongs. You get that chinky eye on, you know?
I was laughing because I was watching your video earlier on this, and you were measuring the distance from the eyes, and you were like, it's 420 meters. And somebody in the chat pointed out, 420, that explains it all.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You see, that's why
he does look a little Chinese-eyed. Maybe our monument.
Dude, you know,
had a few
people moan about YouTube constantly, right? But see, in the last couple of months or so, I've had such fun here. And yeah, videos get demonetized. It's part of the game. You got to roll with the punches. But between hanging out with you guys on the weekend, and more importantly, or just as importantly, it's not just us three, because it's like nearly 300 people in here tonight. 100-odd people during the daytime streams. I've never been happier with YouTube in a long, long time. I really haven't. So it's great that we can all come here. And yeah, people talk about censorship, things like this, but topics like this are pretty safe to discuss. These are interesting. This is mysterious. And it's good to see everyone's different ideas, Scott, because everyone's entitled to an idea on this. And the disappointing thing is, I don't think we're going to get any further kind of updates or information that we can rely on.
No. I mean, it is this kind of thing. It just triggers wild speculation and really good conversation, you know, because we're not going to really get any more answers from this. I mean, it's not like there's going to be some kind of an, you know, archaeological dig down there. It's so remote. We're not gonna really know much more unless, you know, like you said, unless we get some kind of a crazy ice melt, or that snowpack, you know, it somehow is blown away or removed somehow. We're just not gonna know. So we're just left to kind of wonder, you know, speculate and come up with our own theories. And as you can see, I mean, it triggered a pretty good conversation tonight. I mean, we went into, you know, ancient nuclear wars or some kind of battle, you know, and just the whole thing of that our history is probably a lot different than what we're taught.
Big
you know,
time.
So,
Big time. And we've lost Joe Joseph. We've lost Joe. Unfortunately, Joe is dealing with not giants at the moment, maybe giant piles of puke, maybe. Poor Joe. Two of his kids have come down with something pretty awful right now. It sounds like some kind of stomach bug or something like that. So a big shout out to Joe, and hopefully that gets better before too long, because nothing worse than sicky children and cleaning up all that good stuff, Scott. You know. Ugh.
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 Yeah. Hopefully they get better.
We can hope so. I'm trying to get rid of Joe. There we go. I'll get rid of that. Okay. I've got too many webcams and things open. We'll get rid of... Where else is he? Oh, I can't find him. I will keep him there. He can stay for now. We'll leave him there, Scott, right? We'll leave him there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the chat room, and Tommy Gunn says, that's what I like about your shows, Kev. It's a free space to agree, disagree, or have your own ideas, and that's exactly... That's what I want written on the door, Scott. That's what I want written on a plaque somewhere when people come into this chat. You can feel free to be as open as you want, to throw out any speculation ideas out there. They're all as relevant as me, Scott, and Joe, because we're all working from the same information. All we've got to go on is this picture, this crazy big picture out there in Antarctica, if I can find it again. And Tommy, you've made my night by saying that, dude, because I know Scott's the same as well. That's all we want. That's all we're here for.
Yep.
Discuss things and hopefully get to the bottom of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not here to tell you what to think or how to think. We just want you to think, you know, and your guess is as good as ours, because we're not here to really conclusively say one thing or another. I mean, the whole pareidolia thing is still on the table, right? I mean, this just could be a really, really, you know, crazy natural formation that just happens to look like a face. I mean, I'm not going to discount that either, right? But, you know, my gut says it's something more than that. And I think Kev's in that same boat too, you know, that there's something more to this than just some kind of a natural formation. But, you know, there's no way we can prove it.
No.
There's really no way we can prove it. We're not there on the ground. We're not digging the snow up, and we're not seeing this thing with our own two eyes. I mean, we're just basing this stuff off of a Google satellite photo. And so, like Kev said, this is just going to remain one of those weird mysteries that is just going to invoke a lot of conversation and a lot of
now, Jennifer in the chat room says there's 3 faces there, not just one. Trying to see how you'd get, or if maybe we're missing something here, Scott.
I
don't know.
There's 2 more. I'm not seeing them right off the bat.
Them right. They're not quite as. What's that in there? Looks like little rocks or something. I mean, what the heck? That's a bit weird, right? Well, there's a shadow cast off these things. They're quite sizable.
Yeah, like little spires or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's 3, we're not saying there's not 3. Jennifer, please don't think we're not saying that. We're just saying we haven't seen them yet. So
it could be if once they're pointed out, then we would like see it where you're like, oh, okay, you know. But yeah, I mean, for now, I don't see any of the other 2 faces, but
yeah, right. I see what you're saying. Anne was saying there. She thought she's seen one side on, but I don't know. It's a stretch, Annie. It is. It's not as good as this bad boy here. I mean, you look at them things there as well, Scott. There doesn't appear to be any more of these, like, spires.
It's very, very odd.
It just gets weirder and weirder. It gets weirder. There's a face right next to it, and a small one likely used as a template. I'll send you pictures in Discord. To the right of it? I want to find it before I'm told where it is, because see, once you've been told where it is, then sometimes I wonder, would I ever have seen that if I hadn't been pointed towards it? Suppose I better open up my Discord, Scott, yeah?
Keep going to the right a little bit. Okay, well, there's maybe something I don't know. It might be a stretch.
Whereabouts, dude? In here?
Go to move your mouse to the right a little bit. Okay, go. No, back to the left. Okay, stop. Go up a little bit. Okay, that kind of black blob could be an eye.
And then you got that there. Potentially, but there's nothing on a par with that, though.
No.
I'll open up Discord. I want to see what Jennifer's saying before we go. Because imagine we come off air and then we realise, oh, wow, if only we had seen that before we finished. So, Jennifer, I'm going to open up Discord. I'll be in there in just a second. Yeah, but this, I mean, when I found this today, this is like golden woo. It is brilliant. You know, whether we get any closer to the truth or not, I don't know. But let me find where Discord is. I need to lift you up a little bit here a second, Scott, I think. No, not on that side. It's on this one here. This is what happens when you've got too many monitors and too many things going on. You start to get confused. And I'm easily confused at the best of times. People should know that. They should really know it. Somebody's given us some more coordinates in there. I'll copy them just now. We'll take a look at that before we go. Copy. There's Jennifer there. Did you see the comments? Top here.
So she's thinking like 3 other faces within the larger
Within the one.
face.
Right, let's have a look. I think that's what we're getting here, yeah.
Okay, so the nose could be a side profile of a face. If you look at the nose, kind of turn it straight, you'll see that like the nose hole could be the mouth, and then the eye could be up above it. I don't know. It's kind of a stretch though.
Weird. There could be something there. That looks kind of weird, but again, I'm not discounting these other faces, but for argument's sake, and to stop the debunkers totally going after us on this video, I'm going to stick for the one, and that's me. That's my opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right. There could be 4, 5, 10. I honestly don't know. She's correct. Second face is basically over, including left cheek area. I mean, you could say that's an eye. You see, we could be looking at this for hours. We could be sitting staring at it for hours, you know. But it's fascinating. And Jennifer, thank you for that. I'm going to dip my toe back into Discord. Make sure she hasn't said anything else that we've missed, Scotty. Just getting other pictures as well. Yeah, it's points to the top of the head, up here. I don't know. I don't know. But the more I look at that, the more that's starting to look like the side of a face. But that's because my brain's going, come on, Kev, go there. Pareidolia. Join it. Don't look at the big one. Start looking for smaller ones.
Now your brain goes into the mode to where you want to look for faces, so you start like trying to really kind of turn things into faces. That
Roxy says it looks like a Chinese alien. Well, we said earlier on in the show, her first thought was a Japanese samurai, something like that. So yeah, definitely Asian appearance. We can go for that. I could go for that. Grey alien, some species of pre-human that we don't know about, Scott. Who honestly knows, man? What else is people saying, right? We'll come back in and we'll scroll up a little bit, right? And Marty, I've not seen you in here for ages. Great to see you. But if we come up, we say Florida has the small place template. Looks like a lot of snow. And again, listen, that's another possibility as well, you know. We could be looking at something that's entirely natural. I'm not going to discount that. I can't discount that because without being able to get there, Scott, all we have is this to go on, and it could be natural. It could be, I don't know. I mean, is it possible for like Google employees to head in there and stitch in this photo back to 2009 and things? Yeah. Do I think that's likely? No. But then it makes me wonder when we've seen so many other areas on Google Earth being blacked out over the years, Scott, right? I mean, people are talking about this now. It's been in the Sun newspaper over here. It's hitting the internet big time. You would think if there was anything there that they wanted to hide, they would, you know, just kind
Now,
of.
we would definitely have to start getting really suspicious if all of a sudden you see this area just disappear.
Yeah, and that's why that's why I'm gonna take another screenshot of it right now, just in case. You never know, right? There we go, saved, done. So,
because
Paul
if
Panda,
Google
Scott,
decides-
you'll like this because we're gonna look at the thing you mentioned as well. But Paul Panda says looks extremely similar to the face on Mars. Now, it does have a semblance of Cydonia. That I did think of today as well. Give me 2 seconds, I'll pull that up. Face on Mars. Some pictures of the face on Mars look really good. And then you look at other ones and you think, like, one like that, and you think, well, that actually now just does look like a rock, right? But then the early ones, it's, I mean, look at that there. Look at the eye. Look at the eye on that one, Scott. I mean, that looks similar. I'm getting it. I'm definitely with you there. And you mentioned something earlier on, Scott. I'll see if we can find it, right? This thing.
I haven't been able to find it. Unfortunately, that was lost. At least my.
Is that it there? Is that it there?
No. That's. Well, no. There was. I still wish I had the photos. I might have to go through.
I remember it. What happened was, I'd forgot to pay my website 1 month, and because it's hosted by WordPress and GoDaddy, you've got like 20 days to renew it, Scott, or else you lose your content. I didn't know that. Lost the content, lost a shed load of stuff. Some of it I'm glad I lost, because if Unirock could see some of the older stuff, I'd be getting done for red pill to pay the bill, okay? Some really questionable stuff on there. It was like pre-logical Kev. It was some dodgy shenanigans on there that I would hate to see again now. But yeah, I remember what you were talking about, dude. I remember it well.
Yeah, there was a Mars rover photograph that the rover had taken of some of an area of rocks on the surface, and I think I was the only one to point it out. That's why you're really not going to find much on
exactly.
it. I was the only one who made sort of the connection, and I sent it to you, and then you put it up on the site at that time. But
I remember it, dude. I remember it.
There was a rock, and it was a small rock too. It's not like this huge structure or anything, but it was just a small rock that looked like it was like a carved figurine or something, and it looked like the side profile of the Sphinx, like uncannily similar, like very, very similar, like almost too similar. And so, I had kind of cleaned up the image and put the two together and sent it to you and all of that stuff. But yeah, I'll have to see if I still have that somewhere in my folders or whatever. But yeah, this is kind of the same situation.
Do you reckon that's been photoshopped?
Oh my Lord, what is that? Bring that up on the screen.
I'm gonna I'll give it a tab on its own. I'll let people see that. That is brilliant. That's like the kind of thing I'd get up to on a boring day on Photoshop. Like, hey, he's got the jacket on. Brilliant, man. It's cool. He's got a hook. Is it like Captain Hook? That looks like he's got a hook for a hand. Brilliant.
I
love it.
I think it's Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th.
Could be. It looks like him. A good shout. It really is. But yeah, that one there, there was one I've seen as well, the side-on shot. If you look at that one, that's starting to look like it's got the alien eye again, dude. I don't know. I don't know. And again, it's just interesting, but that Cydonia region, that's really interesting.
Now, another interesting thing is that we know that ancient civilizations have built structures where certain things are revealed when the sun hits it at a certain angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they say, you know, okay, well that's just a chunk of rock, and if the sun isn't in the right spot, well then you don't see the face, and then they use that to debunk it. But what if that was built for that purpose, that when the sun hits it at that certain angle, it reveals the face, you know, at that specific time of day or that specific time of the year, you
On
know
an
what I mean?
equinox, something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
And what Scott's
yes.
talking about here, folks, if you didn't realize it, the pyramid, the Great Pyramid over in Egypt on the Giza Plateau, as you can see here, it's not four-sided as you initially think when you see it. Because on the equinoxes, you can start to see that there's actually an indentation on each side, making it arguably an eight-sided pyramid. It's quite weird, right? You see the line down there, and that's only, you can only really tell that on the sunrise on the equinox, I believe. So
Yes, so you have hidden things that are revealed, you know, when the sun hits things a certain way. It's just like the pyramids in was it the Aztec pyramids, right, or the Incan pyramids, where when the sun hits it a certain way, it reveals the snake going down the side.
yeah, Quetzalcoatl. Yep.
Yeah. So why would it be so hard to believe that structures could be built on Mars that
It is there.
only reveal, yeah, that only reveal certain things whenever the sun hits it a certain way, right? Same with, you know, just in any other spot. So it might look mundane and it might look normal.
I mean,
You
look
know,
at that.
most
Think
of the
about that
time.
for a minute, everyone. Think of the engineering that we're talking about here, right? I mean, the bottom of the pyramid there on the main picture, you're talking about the snake's head. And then look at it. You see the wavy line of the snake going up and down there. And they built this to the precision where that only happens on an equinox.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yes. Any other time, you would just go, oh, well, there's a snake head down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But at that one particular moment, boom, it reveals everything, you know? So I think, you know, like the face on Mars, they just happened to snap the photo at that point when, you know, the face was revealed, and then, you know, then they go back and take the picture later on and they're like, oh, well, look, it's just a mountain, right? Because then the face isn't there anymore. The sun's not hitting it at that perfect angle. So I think that's another thing we have to take into account, that, you know, things might just look mundane and might not look like anything, but maybe you have to see it at a certain point at a particular time, and then you're like, oh, you know, something might be revealed from it. So
Absolutely. Now, before we go away today, Scott, before we go away, let me call on your expertise to quickly give people a little update on the storm before we leave, because we've got Hurricane Dorian. I believe that's the name. I might have butchered it. Heading towards Florida. I've been telling people all week, you know, check your streams out. I watched one of your videos today on Facebook, brother. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. And you were sharing with me before the show your thoughts on what might be happening with this storm. So go for it, Scotty. Storm chaser, Scott.
yeah, I haven't checked the latest update, so I'm just kind of going by what I saw earlier today around noon. But last I checked, it was a Category 4 storm with winds of 150 miles an hour, and they're expecting it to strengthen a little bit. And the crazy thing about Dorian is it's a very compact, tight storm. It doesn't cover a lot of mileage. Like, it's not some huge, massive storm that is like really, really massive. It's just this really tight little, just a crazy strong storm. It reminds me a lot of Andrew. Andrew was a really tight, compact storm.
Did that not go on
when it
to like cause a lot of damage, Andrew?
Andrew was crazy. Andrew completely destroyed Homestead, Florida. Looked like a nuclear bomb had went off. They didn't even get actual. They don't even know how fast the winds were in Andrew, because the anemometers at the weather station in Homestead, I think it got a wind gust close to 200 miles an hour, and then it was ripped off the top of the building. So they don't even really know how fast the winds were in Andrew. But Dorian is supposed to make this northern turn once it gets north of the Bahamas. At least they're saying it's supposed to make a northern turn.
All right,
and then
everyone.
start
It is
curving back out.
2:13 p.m. August 31st, 2019, and
Yes, I will pause that.
going to update
Hang
everyone on what's going on with Hurricane Dorian.
There we go, Scotty. Right.
We had my clone was chiming in there. For
People were going to realize that you aren't the real Scotty Lopez, man.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I posted an update on Facebook earlier, but yeah, it's supposed to make this northern turn, and I don't know. My gut is telling me that you can see how small and compact it is.
Yeah.
You can see it doesn't cover a large area. It just looks like this little donut out there.
Does that concentrate the winds, though? That tightness? I'm not versed in this at all, dude. At all.
Yeah, I guess you could say it does. I mean, the size of the hurricane doesn't really matter, like as far as like how far it extends. It's just how powerful the low pressure system is, you know, the eye of the storm. And so this one just happens to be a small compact storm, you know, as opposed to some that are just like big and cover a lot of area. So I mean, in a way, I guess that's good, because wherever it hits, and that's just saying, you know, that's just assuming it's going to remain a compact storm. You know, this thing could morph and it could get bigger and, you know, cover a lot more area. But
Trump might nuke it. I'm joking.
Yeah. You know, they're expecting it to make this north turn, and you can see the models right there showing it doing it, but that's assuming that this upper level wind pattern kind of picks it up and starts dragging it farther north. And I'm not very convinced that it's going to make this north turn like they're saying. I think there's a lot of questions about that. And even in some of the more in-depth discussion, even the National Hurricane Center was kind of saying, well, this could go a little farther west than initially thought. And they're discussing possibly, you know, changing the track to be farther west. So if it makes this north turn a lot later than they anticipate, then I would think it's probably going to hit more along like the northeastern coast of Florida. But if it makes this northern turn, then like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina is going to be affected. But either way, I mean, this is going to be very close. This is going to be it's too close for comfort right now, and this is a hard forecast to make until it starts to actually make its turn, if it makes its turn. Well, I think by Monday, when it's in the northern Bahamas or just north of the Bahamas, we'll get a better idea of actually what it's going to do. But either way, I mean,
you know what happens? You know what this means, though? About 10 to 14 days from now, Scotty, it's going to be business as usual when it comes to weather in the UK, right? We're not going to get the hurricane force stuff, but we'll get the backlash, what's left of it by the time it burns out over the Atlantic. And luckily enough, no warm waters out there to fuel this bad boy. But we always get some kind of wind and rain. And I think, you know, the British media, they see what's happening in America and they think, oh man, it's our turn now. And they hype this thing up when it's on its way here. And by the time it gets here, you'd look like a fool if you had an umbrella out, because there's nothing happening, man, you know?
Yeah, they're going to be like, the British media is going to be like, the remnants of Dorian are set to lash the British Isles with catastrophic winds and, you know, it's like, you know, but yeah, look, I mean, it's going to be, let's just hope it stays out to see, you know, let's hope it makes that curve north, and let's hope that that this upper air wind pattern pushes it back out. But right now, I'm not so convinced on that. I'm still thinking it's going to make landfall somewhere, my gut is telling me like northeastern Florida or possibly Georgia, something like that.
Well, I want to give a big shout out to one of my 3 ladies in the chat, the mods. Nana, I hope you're feeling better soon, and I'm glad you've enjoyed the stream. I'm glad you've enjoyed what you've been able to hear. It's been sorry to hear that you're not feeling too well, and Joe's not feeling well. My boy, he's full of the cold. It's that time of year. It seems to be going around, Scotty boy.
Well, I better knock on wood because I have not been sick almost 2 years. Yeah, and
That's good going, man. That is good going.
yeah, I think the diet I've been on actually has helped with that. I think cutting sugar and carbs out of your diet really remove a lot of the fuel for bacteria and viruses to feed on. So, but yeah, back to this hurricane thing though, man. If it does make landfall, it's going to be a significant hurricane. It'll probably be Category 4, maybe Category 3, but at this point, it really doesn't.
Now Nana's had a hiccup with her phone, and JP in the chat's been timed out, but it was just a glitch. JP, don't worry. 300 seconds and you're back with us. Don't worry, man. You'll be back, or she'll be back. I don't know who JP is. I don't want to assign a gender onto you. You know what I'm like with my genders and stuff like that, folks. Like, you gotta be very particular when it comes to all that these days, Sky Boy.
Speaking of which, for those of you out there who want to see some really nice, anti-politically correct, just hilarity, and just comedy being brought back, go watch the new Dave Chappelle comedy special on Netflix.
I've heard that's good.
It is. It is good. It is good. He takes all of this crap going on right now and just savages it. I mean, he has triggered everybody. He has triggered everybody, and it's so refreshing to see a comedian just say, "Screw it, screw."
I heard
guys.
Joe Rogan talking about this with somebody, and he was saying something about a joke about his routine about the black white supremacist. So I don't know if that's in that actual video or if it's just maybe one of his stand-ups.
That was back when he was doing Chappelle Show back in the mid 2000s.
I like Chappelle. I like him. He's funny, man. Really, really funny. Him and Joe Rogan have been selling places out, dude. Like, as in, like, it's not like a comedy gig. It's like maybe 20,000 people there. It's like a rock concert, man.
Yeah, and it's refreshing. I mean, people are craving, genuine comedy again, where people don't have to walk on eggshells and try to cater to the social justice warriors and the woke crowd and all of that stuff. And Chappelle has just said, screw it. I'm gonna just everybody's going into the wood chipper. Everybody's gonna get something
To the wood chipper, man.
It's hilarious. I like I said, before we did the stream, I just got done watching it and I just was like, oh, it's so good.
Well, I'm in the middle of watching something called Better Than Us right now, and it's a Russian show, but it's dubbed in English. And Scott, you would like it because this is all about robots, sex robots, some of them, but this magic super robot they get on the black market from China. It's really good. It goes with all the kind of stuff we talk about, man. And typically on Netflix, you'll maybe get 8 episodes and that's it done. 16 episodes of this bad boy, and it's a really well written, really well put together show. And like I say, it goes alongside a lot of the stuff myself and Scott talk about on a normal day, the robots, the AI, that kind of thing. But I'm just going to go into the chat room now because we're almost out of time. We had heaps of other stuff, but we'll keep that for tomorrow because we'll be able to link this show into tomorrow's show because we were talking about the alien face. Joe mentioned giants, and we've got a story about a giant tomorrow. It's not your typical story that you see about a giant. Scotty's watching the chat. What we've seen, Scott? Is there anything going on in the chat?
Oh, just some Joe Rogan hate, but that's okay.
George Norrie and Richard Hoagland discussing the Martian rat. Yes. I imagine that makes for compelling listening. I don't know what it is with George Norrie nowadays. He's the host of the biggest show in the world, dude. But I don't know. It's like woo light. It's like just when you're getting to the good bit, if it's like something to do with an alien or a spacecraft, he'll go, so what color of trainers did the alien have on?
Yeah, see, I mean, yeah.
I had to give up, dude.
It's just never been the same since Art Bell.
No.
And I remember growing up on Art Bell and listening to Art Bell, and I mean somebody had to take over after him. I mean, obviously, but it's just it's not the same. It's not. You can't duplicate that. And so yeah, I mean, props to Norrie though. He hosts the biggest show.
Well,
but it's not the same.
Yeah, JC in the chat says, I'm glad I've been kicked out of more chats than not just for being silly, like just a guy. Don't say vagina apocalyptic. I don't know why you'd get kicked out of somebody's chat for that. I don't know, but just a guy was talking about Benny Hill. And Benny Hill, he's like the most politically incorrect dude there ever was. If he was alive today and making comedy, he wouldn't be making comedy, right? Because you just wouldn't get away with it anymore, Scott. You just wouldn't, man. You used to get chased about by half-naked women and things like that. Yeah, he wouldn't get away with it. It wouldn't happen anymore. But I've got something funny to tell you after the show, Scott. I need to remember this. You won't believe this, dude. You won't believe it. Folks, I'm not just saying this and you're going to be thinking, well, why are they talking about this on air? I'm going to say to Scott, I'm going to ask Scott, should we talk about this tomorrow night when we come back? So I'm going to remember to ask you. But folks, we have had a fantastic time tonight. I don't know why I clapped there, but it's a new thing. I'll just have to keep that going, right? So I don't know what that does. I don't know if it's like some kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm mind controlled. Ooh, maybe I've been watching Uni's MK Ultra mic too much, dude. And I need to clap now, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Please clap.
Tommy Gunn says, just a guy in Kev and anyone English. What about Rab C. Nesbitt? Dude, obviously a Scotsman is going to love Rab C. Nesbitt, right? It's about like this Glasgow family, Scotty boy, and they're as rough as the day is long, man. And Rab goes about, he's mad drunk, and he's got his buck fast, and he's got a string vest on, he's minging, he's got a fag hanging out his mouth. His wife, she absolutely batters him with a shoe. Sound familiar? Must be something with Glasgow women battering dudes with shoes, right? I don't know. But guys, girls, anything else out there, whatever you identify as, I've had a blast tonight. The main part of the show, we were trying to figure out what the hell this is. I mean, we still don't know. We'll never know, possibly. I'm going to check into the other faces that Jennifer was talking about, things like that. But I've had a blast tonight, Scott. When I seen this today, after I'd realised I can't debunk this, I thought, well, the flip side of that is it's going to be good. Because we've got a hell of a lot to talk about on the show tonight. And we have. We've covered so much. We've been on for 2 hours nearly, man. And Joe Joseph, he's the one that says 90 minutes, that's the golden number. And I agree with that. 90 minutes is fine. So we're going to wrap it up now. We'll be back. Same time, same place tomorrow. The hurricane hasn't hit yet. I've seen somebody saying so the hurricane hasn't hit yet. Not quite yet, Scott, right? And keep up to date with Scott over on Facebook. Scott Lopez. Scott's sitting going, oh, Kev, don't do that. Now I'm going to be inundated with like 200-odd friend requests in a minute. Well, I'm bad like that. I'll do that to you, Scott. That's the kind of guy. That's how I roll, okay? So I hope people have enjoyed this. I hope you didn't think you were going to get any answers from us, because as you can tell, we're not here to like create the next crazy conspiracy theory. We're not here to blow smoke up your ass. How the hell could we know what's going on here? We are as much in the know as any of you out there at all. And Jai P is back in the chat room. That was a genuine mistake from Nana, Jai P. I knew it wasn't a permanent ban. You'd be back in 300 seconds. You're back now. Everything's good. Order has been restored. I'm going to give it a quick clap. And that means, Scotty boy, we are out of here. Any last words from the Scot?
No. Like I said, I'll probably be doing another hurricane update tomorrow, and if it looks like it's going to do something crazy and like make landfall instead of staying out to sea, then I will do a live stream as it's making landfall, depending on when it makes landfall. I mean, if it's in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh, look at that. Reaper's down under. It's 2:04 p.m. on the Sunday afternoon there. Yeah.
Nice.
Bro, I love Australians. Scott and Joe, not so much. They made me sack my Australian AI companion.
She was too monotone, man. No AI personality.
Okay.
Brian's got some personality.
Okay, we'll have a test of Brian before we go, just so we can hear what Brian sounds like. We'll unleash the Brian, right? This is just a test, folks. I donated myself £50. I wish I had £50.
This is a test super chat alert for £50.
There you go. But Brian is restored. I hope everyone's happy. I'm away to watch Neighbours, Home and Away, and as many other Australian programs as I can stomach so I can get my fix of that beautiful accent, okay? So, with one last clap, we're out of here. I don't know where the claps come from, but it stays. I like it. It's goofy, it's stupid, and it goes with this stream. We are out of here.